Hockey fans in Arizona got quite the bombshell news Thursday as a major championship game makes its way to Tempe. We're going to tell you why this is a huge win for hockey in Arizona on today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Robyn Leonio. That's Carl Pavlik. And this is the Locked On Coyotes podcast, Arizona's longest-running daily Coyotes podcast. We got a great show for you guys today. We're talking some tournament news, and not just, NHL. This is doing something going outside the NHL, Carl, because we got a big bomb that dropped on Thursday, Carl. The Premier Hockey Federation, the PHF, the North America's top women's hockey league over here, has announced that they will be playing their championship game at the Mold Arena right here in the Valley.
Yep, it's going to be on Sunday, March 26th, 6 p.m. Arizona time. It's funny, the Coyotes are actually going to be playing at noon. So if you are in the Tempe area, you can get a double dose of good hockey. It's really exciting. I don't think anyone was expecting it.
No, I think it was a shocker. Like when I got the press release from the Coyotes and it said Premier Hockey Federation, I'm like, are they doing something together? What's going on? And it says championship game at Mullet. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? This is something. Like I had to freaking scramble and figure out, to get some tweets out there, get some excitement built up because, this is huge. This really is huge.
Well, when we first went to the game at Mullet Arena, we talked about like it being a great spot for other events. I think the one we highlighted was a potential World Juniors. And it's great that the Coyotes are kind of making it work with other things. The PHF is definitely a growing league. It is looking to expand women's hockey in general. And doing that in Arizona, I think, is a good thing. I do kind of wish that they announced it a little bit earlier. I did see some people complain, like, I mean, that's not really good timing for me to like plan a trip to Arizona, but I don't know what goes into how they make that decision. I don't want to judge too harshly. And of the cities that have PHF teams, I'm sure all of the North American ones are well represented in the state of Arizona.
Oh yeah. I think I saw a tweet reply when we put it out there. Someone said, I think I need to dust out my Connecticut Whale jersey. Like there are some women's hockey fans here in Arizona, and I love it.
Yeah. I mean, there's also just like a lot of people from the Northeast, some people from Minnesota that just moved to Arizona. It's why whenever you go to, say, a Boston Bruins Arizona Coyotes game, there's a large contingent of Bruins fans. Those are people who, some of them are just snowbirds, but others just have made the trip. People move to Arizona a lot. It's one of the fastest growing areas. It's why the NHL wants to be here. It's why the PHF wants to be here.
Yeah, I think that's, one of the things I think we can talk about why it's a big win. Because it kind of really shows that, Arizona is that market that people want, that people are they're actually buying into. You can look at how the Coyotes are a franchise right now, and you can make whatever jokes you want. But hockey here in Arizona is growing.
Yep.
And you cannot deny that. Now, like everyone might say, yeah, sure, okay, TV contracts. That is why the reason why the Coyotes are here, and that very moment might be one of a major reason because it's a really really big TV market right here.
Sure.
But if you just look at the growth of the league, and growth of the sport over here, I can say myself as someone who plays, like there are so many rinks, there's so many people who love to play. It is amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, we are seeing just an ever increasing growth in hockey in all areas. The Kachinas program is showing like girls hockey can survive and grow. Friend of the show, Lindsay Fry, is going to, is heavily involved in that. I saw in the press release she is also going to be doing something at the on the weekend. Not really sure what it's going to be, but I'm sure it's going to be a great
I mean,
celebration.
can you imagine that? Imagine, and it seems like it's probably going to be some kind of, collaboration or some kind of work between, the PHF teams that are going to be represented in the championship, kind of, maybe interacting with some of the girls in the Kachinas program. Imagine being one of the girls in the Kachinas program, getting a chance to interact with professional women's hockey players. Like,
Yeah.
imagine the influence that has on some of those girls. It is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm trying to remember. I do not believe that there was an ACHA women's hockey program when I first started following ASU hockey. There is currently an NCAA men's program.
Yeah.
There is an ACHA women's program. Like by the time the girls in the Kachinas program are getting ready to go to college, like there could very well be NCAA women's hockey that they can play. And honestly, there should be, if there's an NCAA men's program, there should be an NCAA women's program.
And it only makes sense with the way hockey has been growing here, right? Um, and it's just like so many programs that you see. Like, you can say ASU in the way it's going. GCU is getting its programs. You get down in Tucson, U of A has been growing pretty fast. ho- you know, and I'm going to keep reiterating that. It really just goes to show hockey truly belongs here in Arizona. I know I might be upsetting some of you guys who just listening just to, for some reason, who just like to, give the Arizona Coyotes a lot of crap, but you can't deny that. You cannot deny that hockey is growing faster here than a lot of other places.
Yeah. And that's why you want to be in a growth market. You want to be where the people are going, and you're going to get them interested in hockey. There are still plenty of barriers to entry. You know, and there's definitely things that we can talk about, but I do like the fact that the Coyotes for the past couple of years have had a focus on girls hockey. Like the Kachinas program is something that when I first started watching was never really addressed, but now it's just like a major part. It is. Uh, I'm not sure if I would say like flagship program for the Coyotes, but it is a significant like investment that they have in the local hockey. Could they do more? Absolutely. Everyone could always do more, and the sport still needs to grow. But they're doing the right things, and this is a big step. Um, and you can get tickets for it starting Monday the 13th. So this upcoming Monday.
Absolutely. I'm going to go a little bit more on that point you just made earlier in just a bit, though. We do have to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, though. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The midway point of the NBA season is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores to threes drained and everything in between. If you are here in Arizona, I'm sure you're going to be betting on a lot of things related to the NBA team here in town, the Phoenix Suns. FanDuel's the best place to make those bets. Plus, FanDuel even lets you make your bets and combine them for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. So don't miss a chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked on. That's FanDuel.com/locked on to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. So let's go. And I kind of want to, piggyback off what you said, Carl, on the Kachinas program and that growth. It kind of gives the idea of why they came here too. Because let's look back. It's now been just a little over a year ago that we launched the Grow the Game series, and we interviewed Lindsay Fry. And she talked to us about the Kachinas program going tier 1, that's a very high tier. For those who don't follow, term I'm looking for, youth hockey.
Yeah.
That's really high up there. It's some of the top among high school hockey, like high school age hockey. And the fact that they made it up there pretty fast really says a lot to what Lindsay Fry and the late Matt Schott have really built in that program.
Absolutely. I don't know if you saw this, but Kat Silverman tweeted out, I'm just going to read directly. I remember how excited Matt Schott was when the Dream Gap Tour came to Oceanside Arena. Feels good to see the continued push for women's hockey presence in the Valley. It doesn't go unnoticed. Um, and this kind of, it goes back to our conversation with Lindsay Fry, and she was the one who brought up the fact that like Matt Schott was heavily involved in these programs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we are still feeling his presence in the Valley, especially.
Everywhere, not just in
Yeah,
the Kachinas, but everywhere. Like
yeah,
in the league that I play in, we're feeling it. It's amazing.
yeah. It would be hard to argue that few non-professional hockey players have done more for hockey in Arizona than Matt Schott. And yeah, it is, you're seeing it at the Kachinas, like you said, you're seeing it in your league, you're seeing it everywhere. And this does feel like just an extension of that. Like the fact that like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, in order to do this, it would have been at Oceanside. And now it's at the brand new mold arena, and it's a championship game. It's not like a tour game. Like this is something that actually matters. It's really cool. Also, you gotta imagine Scottsdale is going to be like just a great place to party after that game.
Oh yeah. Someone that also has a day job in Scottsdale. Oh man, I'm gonna see it all. I'm gonna see it all. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it though. I'll say for one that I'm gonna try to get into that game. Um, if not as a member of media, definitely get tickets to the game. Because I think it's gonna be an experience that I think if you are a hockey fan here in Arizona, like a devout hockey fan, I really believe that it's an experience that you really should take.
Yeah, especially with the way that the league has been doing their championship games. Like this is not the first out of market one. Like you're probably not going to get another chance to see it anytime soon, unless they get an expansion team in Arizona and
Just
change
take
the
a look at
strategy.
where all what are there? I think 6 PHF teams,
I
right?
believe so. Yes.
So you have Toronto, Minnesota, um, Metropolitan, which I think is in like Pennsylvania, or
Yeah.
yeah. You have Buffalo, Boston, what am I blanking on?
Montreal.
Montreal.
Yep. The
So
Montreal
all
Force.
like Midwest or Northeast.
Yeah.
Like it's all over there. So like the chance that you're gonna get to watch women's hockey here in Arizona is pretty low from the PHF. Again, let alone the championship, also known as the Isobel Cup. Um, Maybe you might get the tour, what do you call it, the touring group of the
Yeah.
I'm forgetting exactly the acronym for them, but the Professional Women's Hockey. So yeah, there we go. The
The yeah
PWHA,
P PWHPA.
the PWHPA. Um, so is that Professional Women's Hockey Players Association.
Yes.
There, that's a lot. But that's the touring group, the one that kind of goes around, around the country and plays exhibition games. That might be your next best opportunity, but no guarantee on that.
Yeah.
Reese was announced. You're gonna get a chance to do this, and I think, like, and like I said, if you're a devout hockey fan, take advantage of it. Like Carl, you said the tickets go on sale on Monday. I would be like, I would definitely not be surprised to see these tickets sell out pretty fast.
Yeah, definitely. One last thing before we finish off, because this could potentially get us comments. The Metropolitan Riveters are based in East Rutherford, New Jersey,
They were in New
not
Jersey.
Pennsylvania. They do not like when you mix those up, so I just wanted to
No,
correct.
okay, yes. I know they were in that area, in the
Yeah,
what they call it, the tri-state area, that, like,
yeah.
so everything jumbled up. Yes, they are in New Jersey.
It's 3 states that are, I think, the size of Arizona. So it's yeah. But I mean, also metropolitan,
You
like
can
that could be
really,
anywhere.
yeah. The Riveters, I think, were the team I chose to follow, from the PHF. But
Now you're just digging yourself a hole that you didn't know that they played in New Jersey.
look, I had a long day, okay, Carl.
Okay.
I had a
Okay.
long day. I had a long day at my day job, and things just fly past me. It happens.
You're
It's a
you're
brain.
from California, it's fine. We don't expect you to know better.
Okay, sure. But like we said, tickets go on sale on Monday the 13th. So that's about what, just under 2 weeks before the game, which is March 26th. Like I said, if I'm not there as media, I'm there as a fan, 100%.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to bring that on this that maybe like I didn't bring up, but like might be just like kind of screaming at you about this game?
Not really. I think you pretty much covered it. One thing that I didn't know, and there's a chance the audience didn't know, the Isabel Cup is named after Lord Stanley's daughter,
Yep.
who was one of the first female hockey players in Canada, which makes her one of the first female hockey players, I would imagine. So that's cool. I was wondering where they got that name from.
Yeah, I think I was reading that earlier too, and I think that's awesome to have, that Stanley connection. It's just like, hey, there we go. I love to see it.
Yeah. You gotta love the child of a lord.
Was it Lady Isobel? Um, but yeah, gotta love it. Gotta love it. Anyways, though, we still got more to get to on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. We're gonna talk about some roster moves, kind of focusing back on the Arizona Coyotes, all in just a minute. But first, a quick word from our sponsors. So let's go ahead, Carl, and talk about the latest roster news for the Arizona Coyotes. A trade has been made. And I know some of you might be thinking, hey, the trade deadline passed. Yeah, but when it comes to AHL related roster moves, you know,
You
you
can
let it.
still make a trade after the deadline. They just cannot participate in NHL games either in the regular season or the playoffs.
Yep.
Is my understanding. I have seen conflicting sources say like just the playoffs, but I
No.
believe it's also the regular season.
Yeah. So the Arizona Coyotes, um, they acquired Steven Comfer from the Red Wings in exchange for future considerations, and Comfer was immediately assigned to the Tucson Roadrunners because obviously they have to at this point.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was an AHL move anyways. He played, Comfer played for the Griffins. This was just a way to kind of help bolster the blue line for the Roadrunners, because you and I were talking just yesterday about about those issues that Arizona had, and the blue line, and how they needed to bolster up both in Arizona and in Tucson because they need men.
Yep, absolutely. When I was looking at the Roadrunners roster to see like potential like prospects we've forgotten, I was like, "Ooh, this is not great." Uh, Comfer is, he's not the freshest chicken. He's my age, born in 1988, but he's got that veteran presence. He can contribute a bit of an offensive upside. I think it's a good move by General Manager Bill Armstrong, who knew that he was just going to be taking a lot of players from the Roadrunners. So might as well like secure them as they look to secure a playoff spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's it's interesting because I want to see how what the Roadrunners are going to be like the rest of the season, right? Because they've been off and on. I really want to see that team make a push for for the playoffs. It's asking for a lot because the Pacific Division is so stacked that it's just like hard to compete, at that point. Um, I do know. I think, to my knowledge, it might have changed since last I heard, but the Pacific Division, and I think I said it on an earlier segment this week, that Pacific Division does their own postseason before the actual Calder Cup, kind of to really determine who makes it into the Calder Cup playoffs, which is honestly baffling. I'm like, wait, why? I mean, can't
Yeah.
you just do your points percentage? You guys play less games. You guys play 68 games. I mean, that might make it up because everyone else plays 76 or whatever. Every other division plays 76 games. The Pacific Division plays 68. It's like, hey, you know what? To make up for those remaining 8 games or whatever, let's decide just to make our own postseason to determine who's going to make the playoffs. Like, I'm sorry, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's I I mean, with the way the AHL operates, the fact that it's buses as opposed to private jets, there's always going to be concessions that need to be made for a team that's on the complete other side of the continent, like the Pacific Division, and you gotta do what you gotta do. I think all NHL franchises in the Western Conference are happy to have like a Pacific Division in the AHL. Like it definitely makes things easier for the Coyotes. I gotta imagine the same is true for like Anaheim and San Jose, even like you know Calgary, like and um, all the teams really. Like I knew what it was. I remember what it was like when you had to have a player like fly back from Massachusetts in order to like call them up, and it was just kind of like a ridiculous way to handle things. So, it works, and you know they make it work. I don't think there's anyone who complains too much about it.
No, not a crazy amount. It's just really funny to see it, especially again since it's less games and the fact that every other division, even the Central Division, does 76 games. But that digress. But I mean, it's the hope. I think that like I'm not saying that conference is going to be like the major difference, but like you know what, I think it can help the Roadrunners make a push. Um, because I think from what I've been able to see is this team is good enough. They just kind of had bad puck luck in some games. Also, again, like I said, the Pacific Division is stacked. Um, if they can make it to the Calder Cup playoffs, that's going to give some excitement down in Tucson. Bring those whiteout games down to Tucson again. It's been a few years since they made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean just in general, like if you are a GM like Bill Armstrong, you are looking at the health of the entirety of your organization, and you know that you're going to be taking players up. You know that you're probably going to be recalling Kolyachonok at some point. Um, you want to make sure that you're not leaving those guys high and dry. You still want to have a good relationship with your AHL affiliate, even though you own them. Like now, Like, you need to make sure that those guys are happy, that they're developing right, or like the veterans, that they just have a presence there and they're not just being completely stolen, because that is kind of the thing that can lead to, conflict. If there's like, if you're on the AHL staff and you're like, hey, we were getting ready for our playoff run, you took our best players for nothing, just to see what they would look like that can sting. So, good on Armstrong for making the move.
Absolutely. But it wasn't the only roster move that happened, though, on Thursday. Arizona also called up goaltender Ivan Prosvetov. He is playing. He did play in the game against Nashville. At the time you guys are listening to this, has yet to suit up, or is suited up during this recording. We're recording on Thursday night, but I think, what does this say to you, Carl? Did they call up Ivan?
Well, they I'm going to quote Bill Armstrong. Craig Morgan tweeted this out. We are not going to make the playoffs, so we have an opportunity to view one of our prospects at the NHL level and see what he can do. And to me, that says it all. Like, we have never gotten a chance to see Prosvetov for like an extended period of time. We haven't seen him against easy competition, I think, ever. As a goaltender, he is mostly, in my recollection, faced the Lightning and the Colorado Avalanche, which is two teams that are really hard to evaluate your goaltender against. So I think there's uncertainty about what his future is going to be. Let's give him a game. Let's give him 2 games. See what he can do.
The Coyotes are in a unique situation where, and I said it on an earlier segment this week, development is key. Where they can focus on the development of their prospects, make sure that they are in the perfect spot to develop and become better NHL level talent. Goaltenders are in a weird situation where the only way to get the development is to get your NHL reps. He couldn't get that because of that, like what we said, there was so many other, roadblocks in the way, including going up against tougher teams, which wouldn't even be fair to him because, that's just throwing the wolves at this point. You have a little bit more favorable matchup against the Nashville Predators. And I'm just like, okay, you know what? You'll give you a shot, see how you feel, get your reps in, get used to the NHL level. Because we want you up here. That's kind of what they want. I think a lot of people want that. We've been talking about Ivan for years, about eventually taking the mantle. He needs to get those reps if that's going to happen.
Absolutely. And he's a pending restricted free agent, so like there's still time, but at a certain point you're going to need to either like cut bait or know that he is going to be your guy. And I we can definitely, one game isn't going to show that, but get him up here for a couple, see how he does in practice. That could be a big factor in how the Coyotes move forward.
It could instill confidence in him too, knowing that he can get those reps, right? And I think that's the most important part. If he gets those confidence and gets those reps, he will prove that he belongs and he can get himself another contract. Because as much as I love it, I kind of don't like relying on veteran guys or other ones. I want to be comfortable knowing we have the future goaltenders ready and just ready to step in. Ivan's been in the system for years now. I feel like he's pretty close to finally getting a shot and getting an opportunity to show what he can do and show that he deserves a spot.
Absolutely. I think he has done admirably well with the Roadrunners, but yeah, no one's goal is to be an AHL player. It is always to make the NHL. Being an AHL player is a massive accomplishment, but it is not his goal. I'm sure he wants to be the guy, and maybe he could be. He's still really young.
Yeah. I will also say that Ivan is in a great situation to, um, in the sense of proving himself, based off the Coyotes being as poor as they are, not making the playoffs. In contrast to the call-ups that the Coyotes made of Aiden Hill. That was during the years in which the Coyotes were actually a competing team. They were trying to vie for a playoff spot. They just called up Aiden Hill because their top guys and Kemper and Ronser would continually get injured, and Hill would hold down the spot. Aiden Hill got a little arrogant because of that. He was playing for a winning team, and he was getting those awesome opportunities. I'm not saying that ended up hurting Aiden Hill in the end. Um, I think it did in a little bit in the sense that every time he got sent down, he kind of didn't have as much of it. He didn't have a really good attitude. But look at where he's got. Like he's kind of just like floating around the NHL right now. He went to San Jose for a year and then over to Vegas as like a backup. There's something to be said about the opportunity that Ivan has now.
Absolutely.
Anyways, any final thoughts you want to give out before we close off today's episode?
No, I think we pretty much covered it.
Wonderful. Well, that's going to be it for today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, and on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I am personally at Robyn_Leano. Carl Pavlok is at 5 for Howling. Interact with us, ask a question you might have. We might answer right back or in a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys staying safe out there. Hope you guys staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.